Today I'm going to be talking about how to create an embedded Soundslides slideshow that you can put into your portfolio website. So as you can see, as an example, here's my Soundslides slideshow embedded right in the Jam Sources website. So it's not just a link to a web page, it is actually embedded right in there. And how did I do that? Well, Jam Sources is of course a WordPress.org based website, so here is the back end. And most CMS content management system based websites have some sort of a box or some sort of a tab that says HTML. And what you can do is create embed code and put it right in the HTML box. And then you hit update, publish, submit, whatever it is, and you should wind up with something that looks like this. How do we create that? Well, the good news is you don't have to know how to code any of this. All we need to do is publish or export a finished product out of Soundslides, put that on PantherFile, grab the URL, and then copy and paste it into the Soundslides embed utility. So the first thing that we're going to do is you're going to go to your thumb drive, of course, where you have your Soundslides project, and you'll go in your project folder and you'll open up the project file, and that'll open up in Soundslides. And what we're going to do is actually create the Soundslides finished product. So in this case, that's going to be a publish to web folder. So here I am in Soundslides and my project looks good. And now to actually create my finished product, what I'm going to do is hit the export button. And I'll hit export and this weird folder pops up. What's that about? Well, when we're doing this, basically putting our slideshow online, we need a bunch of files in order for that to work. So in this case, we have various nerdy stuff that we don't even need to worry about, but we need to know that all of those files are in there. And there's one file in particular that makes all of this stuff work together and makes this visible on the internet, and that is the index.html file. So if you want to see how this works, or you want to make sure that your publish to web folder is working correctly, what you do is you control click on index.html and you say open with, and you choose a browser. And here we see the Soundslides project actually in a browser. And that's all well and good. We have all of that internet functionality, all of that online slideshow functionality, but it's not actually embedded in a website yet, right? So here it is. It's basically kind of like a web page, although we're looking at it off of the thumb drive right now still, but it's not embedded in a website. So we need to get to that point. We need to basically put this online, create some embed code, and then toss it in the HTML area of a CMS-based website. So to get to that point, what we're going to do is we have our publish to web folder. We can close out of it. If we look in our project folder, yes, we have a publish to web folder that we just created. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this publish to web folder on PantherFile. So you're probably used to using the class folders to turn projects in, to turn in multimedia projects, things like that. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to use PantherFile to host our Soundslides slideshow. So I'm going to go over here. I'm on a lab computer right now, and I'm just going to double click this PantherFile icon. Now this may seem like a bunch of weird steps at first, and in some ways they are weird steps, but this is probably the easiest way to go about putting something on PantherFile. The nice thing about PantherFile is it's free. The bad thing about PantherFile is that it eventually goes away after you graduate. So you want to keep that in mind when you're doing this. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter my password and hit connect. And you'll see your PantherFile drive mount on the desktop. I know this is my PantherFile drive and not a class folder because it's my login name. So I'm going to open that up. And this makes interacting with all of my files on PantherFile pretty easy. All I have to do is click and drag things in here. So this makes the initial steps much easier than just doing it through a browser. So give it a second to open up here. And of course, because it knows I'm recording a tutorial, it takes its time. So here we have, you might not have this many folders in your PantherFile, on your PantherFile drive, but you are, or you will be, looking for one in particular, and that is the public folder. So I'm going to double click that, open it up, and the public folder is everything that's viewable on the internet. We want our slideshow to be viewable on the internet. We want people to be able to access it. Our public folder is where, well, it's where stuff can reside and people can get access to it without us having to change permissions or anything like that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, because every Soundslides project winds up with this folder called Publish to Web, we can't have a bunch of folders called Publish to Web all in the same place. That wouldn't work, right? You have to have Publish to Web 1, 2, 3, etc. So what we need to do is create a folder for this folder. So here I am in the public area on my PantherFile drive, and I'm going to create a folder for this particular project. So I'm going to control click, and I'm going to say new folder. And I've got various things in my public folder already, but in this case, for a Soundslides slideshow, I want to follow a URL-based naming convention. And if you look at URLs, they're always lowercase, and they always separate words that would normally be separated with a space. They'll use an underscore or a dash. So that's what we're going to want to do on PantherFile. So I'm going to rename this folder Lebowski project, and that is where I'm going to put the published web folder. So here I am again. This is the public folder off of my PantherFile drive right here. I've opened it up. I've created the Lebowski Tap project folder. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to click and drag my published web folder for this project into the Lebowski Tap project folder. And I'll give it a second here. Of course, it's going to take its time because I'm recording. So I'll give it a minute to do its thing. Okay, so that took a little bit longer than a minute. It takes a while, actually. You should do this probably in a lab on campus because it'll go faster. And the thing to remember, though, is doing it this way, this initial step, is a little bit easier, again, than doing it through the web interface. So what do we have here? We have all of the same files that we have in our project folder are now on PantherFile. And again, we see there's index.html. And what we need to do is open this up in a browser. Right now we're looking at it through a folder, and now we actually have to look at it through a browser. So open up a browser, and go to pantherfile.uwm.edu. I believe there's a quick link to that even right off of the UWM homepage, or probably in the bookmarks toolbar on a lot of on-campus computers. So log into PantherFile. And let's find that public folder. So there's mine. I'm going to double click it to open it up. And I see I have the Lebowski TAP project folder. I'll open that up. And then I see I have my publish to web folder. I'll open that up. And then I see I have that index.html file. I'm going to control click on that, and I'm going to say, well, let's open it up in a browser, see what it does. Here it is. Once again, it's just like when we were looking at it off of the thumb drive, except now it's actually on the internet and people can see it. The thing to keep in mind, though, is it's not actually embedded in a website just yet. So you could, at this point, copy this URL and put it in an email, send it to people and say, hey, look what I've been working on. But to actually embed this in your website, what you need to do is copy that URL and bring up another browser and Google Soundslides embed tool. And it'll bring up the Soundslides embed utility page. Go to that page and paste the URL to your Soundslides presentation right in that Soundslides embed utility, and then hit continue. And here we have a little preview of what it will look like, and here you have your embed code. Now if you want to get really fancy, you can make some changes to the embed code. For example, I know the width of my column on Jam Sources is 600 pixels wide, so I'm just going to change that to 600. You don't have to do this. If you work for Patch, you may need to select Disable Auto Load and then hit Modify, and that will change the embed code. And now when I click in that embed code box, it selects everything, and then I can just copy it, and I go to my website and I go to the HTML section, or the HTML box, and as you may have guessed, that's where I'm pasting that embed code. And then I can hit update or preview changes, submit, whatever it is. And here's my embedded slideshow. You can also send that embed code in an email. Just make sure nothing else is close to these object tags so that the person using it knows they're actually just grabbing the embed code. So that is how to create a Soundslides finished product and put it online, put it on PantherFile for free, and then grab the URL and toss it into the Soundslides embed utility and embed it in your website.